There's a moment every gardener reaches when they realize soil doesn't just get better on its own. It must be built layer by layer, decision by decision. Before diving into amendments, fertilizers or compost tricks, there's the often overlooked foundation of regenerative gardening, the organic barrier that starts it all. And for decades, two household materials have sparked debates among homesteaders, historians of agriculture, survivalists and soil builders, newspapers and cardboard. The choice between them isn't trivial. It shapes drainage, earthworm activity, weed suppression, microbial growth, and the long-term stability of a bed. For the next minute, let's step into the mindset of the old-world growers who relied on the materials at hand to rebuild soil after war, drought, or abandonment. And let's measure our modern tools against their standards. By the time you finish this guide, you'll know exactly which material wins, when it wins, and how to use it in a way that leaves your soil richer every single season. The first question is what kind of breakdown you want in your soil building system. Newspapers and cardboard don't decompose the same way. Newspapers, especially modern ones printed with soy-based inks, break down fast. Within a few months, a thin layer disappears completely, becoming part of the humus. Cardboard is slower, thicker, and more structural, staying intact far longer before becoming soil. This difference matters because your goals dictate your material. When rapid integration is the goal, such as refreshing a bed already high in organic activity, newspaper really excels. It allows microbes and worms to pull carbon into lower layers almost immediately. Cardboard, on the other hand, behaves more like a temporary shield. It suppresses weeds for longer periods and gives the soil food web a slower, steady carbon source. That's why many no-till gardeners use cardboard when establishing new beds on tough ground, while newspaper works better as a maintenance layer on beds that are already thriving. Right. So, understanding decomposition speed is the first step toward choosing correctly. The second question is, how much weed suppression do you actually need in your setting? This is where cardboard often wins decisively. Because it is thick, dense and layered with cellulose, cardboard blocks sunlight longer and more effectively than newspaper. Just one sheet of cardboard can suppress those stubborn grasses for 6 to 9 months, which is usually long enough for the roots of your new plantings to really take over. Newspaper, on the other hand, tends to break down before even the most resilient weeds have given up. Honestly, you might get 2 to 3 months of suppression at best. So, that means newspaper works beautifully in beds that have already been cleared or where you're just controlling annual weeds. But it really struggles in old lawns, abandoned patches, or those hard-pan soils with deep-rooted invasives. For survivalists rebuilding land from scratch, cardboard remains the more dependable tool. The next factor is moisture retention and how each material affects water flow. Cardboard slows water movement in the early stages, For gardeners in dry climates, this is beneficial because it acts as a temporary sponge, holding moisture and releasing it downward more steadily. On the other hand, in cool or rainy climates, cardboard can hold too much water, sometimes creating sogginess around young roots. Newspapers allow water to pass through almost immediately while still reducing evaporation, striking a balance that works in most temperate regions. This is why some gardeners layer damp newspaper under mulch in established beds. It doesn't interfere with drainage, but still provides a carbon boost and a protective layer. Let's talk about earthworms, because honestly, their activity tells the truth about soil health. Earthworms are remarkably honest judges. They move into newspaper layers quickly, because the material becomes soft, moist, and edible within just a few days. Cardboard invites worms too, but, well, more slowly, and it often requires consistent moisture to really soften. When it does break down enough, worms flock to the underside of cardboard sheets, where it becomes a dense, nutrient-rich layer known as a worm mat. Newspaper, boosts activity right away, while cardboard builds a long-term worm habitat. If you're building a new bed over hard, neglected soil, well, start with cardboard. Lay it down in overlapping sheets, wet it thoroughly, and then load it with compost and mulch on top. Over the next few months, it will smother weeds, soften the ground, and slowly transform into a worm-rich foundation. This method, actually mirrors the old post-war rehabilitation tactics used in Europe, where farmers layered whatever cellulose they could find to restore depleted land. If you're maintaining an existing no-till bed, just use newspaper. Spread 3 to 6 layers over the surface, soak them well, and then add mulch. This approach keeps moisture levels stable, prevents those light weeds from emerging, and, well, it feeds the soil without creating overly thick barriers. Many gardeners repeat this annually, the same way early conservationists maintained soil health without disturbing the deeper layers. If you're trying to create pathways or long-term weed barriers, cardboard wins. If you're creating quick turnover vegetable rows where roots need immediate depth, newspaper wins. Both materials offer value, and both work best when paired with organic mulch or compost on top. So, the final answer to which material really builds better soil is that both do, but only when matched to the right task. Cardboard builds foundational soil, while newspaper, well, it enhances established soil. One is a structural tool, and the other, it's a cycling tool. Long-term gardeners often use both, because soil is not built with just one strategy, but really with systems that complement each other. If you found this guide helpful and want more historically informed, practical soil-building strategies, make sure you subscribe to Hydrohaven, share this video with someone who loves learning the old methods, and keep exploring the techniques that stand the test of time.